Howdy, Tex.
Howdy.
Color is an emotional trigger. Watch. Can I get some help here? Whether it's the black and white of old westerns or the blue of science fiction, color is a powerful tool that you can use to manipulate the emotions of your audience.
We'll find out how color can help tell your stories on today's Two Real Guys. Hi, I'm Norman Holland.
And I'm Larry Jordan, and welcome to the Two Real Guys, where today we're talking about color.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time with your actors, your costumes, music, camera, editing, everything when you make a movie. But the way in which you choose and use your colors reinforces your story as much as any of these.
You know, Bruce Bloch wrote a book called The Visual Story. You remember that?
Yeah.
Remember what he told us?
Well, one of his key theses is that you cannot ignore the visuals, right? They tell a story whether you're thinking about them or not. So if you want to keep control of your story, you'd better think about them.
Well, the idea is to read the script from the point of view of what emotions you want it to convey, and then you can start to think about those emotions in color. And if you think about it, we've been living with color all our lives in terms of how we read print advertising and television advertising.
Right.
Gold makes us feel one way, green another, blue a third. There's emotions attached to color that we can take advantage of as filmmakers and visual storytellers.
Right, because we need to know how the colors can influence the story, which means we need to know what story it is we want to tell. So it goes back to the page, to the script.
And then we can collaborate with our crew, our production designer, lighting designer, the director of photography, our costume designer, to help figure out a color palette, which is the range of colors that we use to represent the emotions that we want a particular scene to convey.
Right. So what is a color palette then?
Well, a color palette is the look of the visuals. In fact, it could even be the way that you color grade your image when the project is done. And we'll be giving an example of that a little bit later in this episode. But it starts with coming up with some thoughts that you can share with others. Right. And I notice you have a book in your lap.
All right, it's a big book.
It's a big book. What is the book about?
This is what we call a lookbook.
Wait, a what?
A lookbook.
A lookbook. Okay.
And it does pretty much exactly what it says.
I've been looking at that book, yes.
It gives you
that's cool.
looks that inspire you for the film. So you can put all kinds of things in here. You can put paintings. You can put stills from other films that you may have grabbed from anywhere. You can put stills that you may have taken. Everything that will help other people who you're collaborating with to get a sense of what you feel.
This is very similar to what you would do with a composer, is you put together clips of music that you like, that have the tempo or the feeling, the emotion you want to convey, and you play it, not to say duplicate this, but give me the same feeling or give me the same tempo. So here, instead of doing it with your ear, you're doing it with your eye. You're giving them something visually to look at.
And it is the feeling that's important that we're talking about. For instance, on this particular piece right here, you can see it's not even a objective visual image. What it is it's swirls of orange color. Now that really gives us a sense of the type of color, the grading of it, all of that sort of stuff, without actually saying, I want this wardrobe to be orange. They'll take a look at it and figure out how to get that look in their way.
Now, obviously, the look is dependent upon the script, and you'll have different feels depending upon where the character is. For instance, you may be blue if they're breaking up with the girlfriend, or it could be gold if they're getting together with the girlfriend. The choice of color affects the choice of emotion.
And this is true whether you're working with a large crew or a small crew, right? The choice of your color palette is going to impact what locations you choose to shoot in, how you're going to light them, how you do your costume design, your production design. Everything is impacted by that.
You know, color affects the final look of your film and the final emotion, and there's many different places you can put the color in. We want to give you an example of this. For instance, we're going to take our two real players, go down to the stage, and on the stage we're going to create a short scene. But we're going to give that scene two different flavors, two different looks. The first is where Danielle and Lisa, who are good friends, are meeting Andrew. And at this restaurant scene, Lisa and Andrew discover that they're falling in love. Let's go down to the stage.
This is from me. It is not what you deserve, but It is all that I have the means to provide.
Sir, you have just gotten what you deserve. If you keep your promises in love just as well as you have exceeded all promises, she will be well content.
Shall we go, cuz?
Aye. Fare ye well, fair gentlemen.
I cannot say I thank you. You have left me speechless. All I have left is amazement. I am undone.
Norman, that was our first scene where Lisa and Andrew were falling in love. But while we were watching that, you gave me an interesting comment. What was it?
Well, notice that as soon as we start to see the lighting in the scene, the gold nature of it, we're going to be affected by how it feels to us.
So we've set ourselves a challenge. We're going to do this exact same scene again with Danielle and with Lisa and with Andrew. Except this time, Lisa and Andrew are breaking up. The dialogue is almost exactly the same. The action is almost exactly the same. The set and setting is exactly the same. What's different is the emotion, because we're changing the story. Take a look.
Andrew, this is from me. It is not what you deserve, but it is all that I have the means to provide.
Sir, you have finally gotten what you deserve. If you keep your promises in love just as well as you have exceeded promises, she will be well content.
Shall we go, cuz?
Aye. Fare ye well, fair gentlemen.
I cannot say I thank you. You have left me speechless. All I have left is amazement. I am done in.
Norman, it was the same story, it was the same actors, and yet totally different feeling because we changed the look. We used a different color palette.
Right, there clearly was some difference in the performance as well. So the actors brought something different to it. But the actors need to bring the same set of differences to that second scene than the color palette is bringing. Otherwise, you're in two different movies.
Because the actors are acting one way and the color is saying something totally different.
So communication with everybody in their own language is important.
You know, Hollywood uses this exact same concept.
Oh, yes,
Universal gave us access to two of their films, Leap Year and The Wolfman, and we had a chance to look through the production stills. Take a look at this first one from Leap Year.
In this one, John Lithgow is at a bar giving advice to Amy Adams. Now, look at how he's different from her character in wardrobe, lighting, the focus, production design. This is going to make us look at him right away and give some level of importance to him.
Let's take a look at a different still. This is from The Wolfman.
Oh, very different.
And totally different textural feel as well as a color palette.
This is a period piece as well as more of a genre piece, so that the lighting palette, they chose to be very, very different. Look at how the characters in the foreground are very, very backlit so that you don't really see them in a lot of details. There's a lot of muted colors, whereas bright, bright, bright white coming from behind. It gives us a very different feeling right away. And notice also, as we cut to a scene from later on in the film, that it's very different. You're going to accommodate your color palette to the story of the scene that you're telling.
Notice how orangey, how candlelit it is to give us sort of a historical feeling. Definitely different than the reality of Leap Year.
There's no way that your audience isn't going to be influenced by the color palette of your shots, right? So you need to think about it as part of your story.
Or, phrasing that a different way, to take out the double negative, your audience will always be influenced by the emotional impact of your color palette. We'll be back with a tip right after this.
Color doesn't tell your story, it reinforces it. It's really subtle. If you're looking for some way to find out how color can help tell your story, go hunt down a graphics designer and talk to them. They live and breathe color. Color isn't as important as your acting, but it's a great way to provide emotional triggers for your audience.
You want to think through how you want your audience to respond and then plan your colors accordingly. My name is Larry Jordan. His name is Norman Holland. And thanks for watching The Two Real Guys.